Hi, it's Joy, and today I'm going to be watching One Piece Season 1, Episode 7, The Girl with the Sawfish Tattoo, which means I hope we're finally going to get Nami's backstory. We know who she's working with now, so hopefully we're going to figure out a lot more about her character in this episode and deal with everything that happened in the previous one. Reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon 2 weeks in advance, the edited version 1 week in advance, and let's go.
Captain Shitastic?
Thought clowns were supposed to be funny.
What was that? Why didn't you say
We're
it to my
stuck with
face?
this guy. I know we need him.
Morning, champ.
I just want to know if Nami's okay.
A beautiful, talented woman does not choose to ally herself with a pirate like Arlong. Nami clearly needs to be rescued.
Her tattoo says different.
Yeah, well, tattoos don't tell the whole story, and like any woman, she is a mystery to be unraveled.
Nami made
Okay.
a choice.
You don't know why.
We do need to know more about Nami. We do need to know more about why she ended up where she is. But we also can't just go into this assuming she is a helpless victim. Like, I think we as the audience can maybe have some insights that maybe she isn't there fully willingly, or at least even if she was originally, she's not now. I don't know, that's kind of how I see it. But at the same time, it's dangerous for them to approach this with a Nami, we're here to get you, come with us now. Because if she's like, I was just using you this entire time, you're beneath me, and I'm gonna kill you now, like, it would be dangerous. They haven't seen her in quiet moments away from them, they haven't seen other things with her. So they need to be guards up that she could be evil. But we also shouldn't completely lose hope that we can't save her and bring her back. And by save her...
Nami has her reasons. Whatever choice she makes, I just need to hear it for myself.
I believe him. He just really wants to know that everyone is making these choices for themselves. And if they make a choice for themselves, he will support them to the end of the earth with that choice. But... backstory. A happy childhood until... that's exactly where her swordfish tattoo is.
I can't count any higher than 5.
See, I feel like she was able to be more herself with our crew than she is able to be here. She's a survivor. Who is she really underneath all of the acts she's had to put on, both with us and with them? Was she once chained there?
We may not have much, but we have a roof over our heads and we love each other. That's what makes us a family.
No, we're not a real family. No, Chico's not my sister, and you're not even my mom.
Oh dear. I mean, this isn't how you handle a kid going through something like this. Even a kid stealing, like, yeah, you have to say you can't do that, and, you know, you've hurt yourself, you've hurt them, everything she was saying, but kind of, it is hard for a kid to grow up without and to see others having that stuff, so I hope this is going to be a better conversation.
How did you know?
I just knew.
So as little kids, were they victims of pirates?
It was the right thing
That's
to
what
do.
she said, wasn't it? That pirates came and destroyed everything in her village.
This job requires a human touch.
What brought her from that place to this place? Was it a desire to have more for herself? To feel safe with more money and resources and stability of some kind? Was she taken by force? It kind of, the manacle on the ground really looks like she was taken by force. Nami. Like, forget the Marines. Can I see more of Nami's backstory, please?
Straw hat. Always running his big mouth.
No, I'm drawing a blank.
The safest thing is to say, well, like, I was in the kitchen,
But
or
about a meal and a half.
well, I might have seen someone with that description.
Steaks in the back.
Pipe down in there.
Or what? You gonna whip me up a souffle?
How about you take it for a while?
New guy carries a clown head.
Do we have time to get some more?
No. You don't.
What is her deal? It's got to be more than just being his, like, a special place in his empire. I know that hurt her.
You're not a bad kid, Nami. You just did a bad thing.
You can choose to do bad things or not.
Come to me first.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what Nami was talking about when she said pirates came to her. She lived in a nice town like this, and then pirates came to it. Why was she there when the Marines attacked? Was she the child of a pirate and she just doesn't remember? Or had the pirates attacked somewhere else in that instance? What led you to this place, Nami?
You're short.
Like, this could be who she really is, or this could be the act she's putting on, and I think it's the act she's putting on.
Arlong is
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing here?
I could ask you the same thing.
This is where I belong.
Like, I'm not sure at this point, and I was wondering this in the previous episode. Did she only go back because it was the only way she could save Luffy because the fishmen had found them? Was she sort of thinking, oh, maybe I'll just stick with these guys? What is the fisherman's deal with her? Because that's what it all comes down to with them. If it's just personal gain, there is nothing else in it, then while I don't, obviously approve of anything she's done to this point, she could make better choices going forward. If he's got the mother figure person, if he's promised her something else that she can't live without, that you can kind of see differently her not wanting to leave. It's just so interesting, and I need to know.
If you need our help.
No, I don't need any of you.
There's a lot of emotion in your
Arlong
voice.
wanted the map. Part of your stupid crew.
I think there's more
I don't
emotion.
mean that.
Exactly, I don't feel like she does either.
Take the rest of these clowns and sail away from here. I never want to see you again.
Like, it's very, very well done, unless I'm seeing things. Because you can see that when she's talking to them, there's a lot more emotion in her voice, in her eyes, in every fibre of her being than there was when she was talking to Arlo or any of those people when she was acting tough. Even when she was acting tough in the village, I feel like other than you can kind of see it was an act as well. I think, like, when is she ever herself? At the very least, I think she liked pretending with them. Like, at the very least, she liked being softer with them.
Okay, body than a long journey on foot kind of body. Anybody else missing the ocean? No?
I would be Usopp, you know. It's so funny because you can see like he is annoying, but I'm also like, no, I would be complaining about how much effort everything was. I would be terrified of any fighting and saying, oh, I'll meet you on the ship. I would be the Usopp in this situation.
Don't want to walk all the way back.
In fact, he's actually doing a lot better than I would be doing.
We have a little dinner, a little
The
conversation.
food would persuade me.
Fine.
Jesus Christ. I love the aesthetics of this show.
We need to talk about that in the terms of our deal.
Ooh.
Some serious, Nami.
No matter what you hear, do not come out.
I had friends over.
3 plates on the table.
I gave you everything I
Too
had.
bad for you. It ain't enough.
Don't kill her!
Oof.
Will you take it as tribute for my daughters?
No, Mom, you can't!
You understand what you're saying?
Also, he'll kill her.
No, Mom! You didn't have to tell him about it.
Because you are my daughters. And I would never deny that.
I mean, to this pirate man, you could have denied it and lived. I think he was pretty much aware that, like, he observed you running around with a bright-haired girl. Like, he knew there were more people here. But, like, you could have lied and then been like, it wouldn't have denied that they were your daughters. It would have been like, oh, now we're all alive and we can be together.
Nami, Michiko, I love you girls.
There's no way she works for this pirate man by choice.
Nami's working for the pirate that killed your mother?
There's more to this story. Luffy?
How do you know she's not one of Arlong's crew?
Same way I knew you weren't gonna kill me when I cut you down from that cross. Same way I knew about Usopp. And Sanji.
Yeah, I don't know about that waiter.
I know Nami's good. She needs to know it too.
I think you can see in her voice and her eyes when she talks to them that it isn't as cut and dry as she wants it to be. What's her deal, and when did he take her that day? Did she go and find him some other time?
I have the money.
100 million berry.
Is it to free Cocoa Village? Or whatever, so that it's not under their control anymore, or?
Garp is Luffy's grandfather.
I don't think this was the right person to give this information to.
All the thing must have been hard growing up with a dad like Axel Morgan. I am nothing like that straw hat.
You know,
Fellow with a straw hat came through here the other day.
Sir, you did not get
He was heading?
the memo. Staff loyalty these days.
Kid special. Reminds me of another pirate we knew back in our glory days.
Don't say
I'm not saying it's gonna make it less true. The kid reminds me of Gold Roger.
Interesting.
Suffer the same fate.
It's crossed my mind that he could be Luffy's dad and his son, but I don't know if that would make sense.
You have to know when it's time to let them go. Change is coming whether you want it or
Yeah.
not.
Is this the money that you stole? And you're hiding it next to our mother's body?
It's for the village.
Nami, what kind of monster are you?
Because you have something I want.
Okay.
Told Arlong I'd work for him on one condition. That he let me buy back Cocoa Village. And he said he would. So...
But Arlong is never going to honour that deal. She's thinking,
So you kept that secret all
I'm
these
so
years.
angry at you all these years. I hated you all these years.
And you let me hate you.
Mine.
100 million berry.
You know the exact amount already.
That much money.
How did you know it was 100?
Yes.
Arlong put you up to this, didn't he?
Nami. He was never going to honour the deal.
Wait.
Luffy and people will help, sweetheart. You have a crew. You have a sister and you have a crew. They will help you. You have a crew. They will help you. Oh gosh. You have a crew. They will help you.
Then leave.
The crew doesn't
You don't know
abandon each
anything
other.
about what's going on here.
I don't.
When does that ever stop Luffy? Yeah, he will.
Of course I will.
Of course I will!
That felt very anime.
Let's go. Right.
Gotta go fast.
What's that?
Arlong.
They're attacking the village.
Are we too late? For this village, at least. Oh, okay. This is the episode I've been waiting for in so many ways because we finally got Nami's backstory. Both, like, I mean, we don't know everything about Nami. We don't know how she ended up underneath that wagon in the beginning, but we know everything that is relevant to what put her into this position. The village she described growing up in, the village that pirates came and ruined, or at least one of them. Potentially there was another. We know we've met her sister. We met her mother briefly. How many mothers has she actually lost? But to know the reasons why she joined up, the reasons why, I always believed that ultimately it would be a good reason. It would be protecting people. It would be like, whether it was protecting like a mother or whether it was protecting a whole town, whatever. That was like kind of, if you'd asked me what Nami's backstory, like why Nami was doing it, that's what I would have picked as like what I wanted to be true and what I felt was true with her character. But I was also being like very kind of careful to be like, well, if she did just think, these pirates can kill everyone, I want to save my own skin. She's really young. Like, I wouldn't hold that against her forever if she were to then make better choices. So I was kind of like, wherever she was on the spectrum, I was willing to accept her again. If at this point she was doing it for selfish reasons and then continued to walk that path, that's when I would be like, okay, you've seen another option, you've seen another way, and you've turned your back on it. That's when I would have been like, no. But obviously I'm very glad that it was for an absolutely noble reason, and for not telling anyone breaks my heart. This kind of noble character thing of like, oh, if I tell them they'll suffer more, or like she'll try and stop me, or she'll try and help, or whatever. There's no reason why the village couldn't have known what she was doing. There's no reason why the village had to spit at her. I mean, it was only her sister that spit at her because the rest of them were too scared of what Arlong might do to them. But, you know, the rest of the village didn't have to hate her in order for her to save them. But I guess there was a lot of internalized self-hatred for what she was doing, knowing that she was making a deal with the devil, thinking that they should hate her for doing it. They should hate her for being alongside Arlong and not trying to kill him, not trying to stop him, for standing by while he commits other atrocities in order to save her own town. I think there was a lot of internalized self-hatred that is part of why she was punishing herself. Maybe even punishing herself because she couldn't save her mother, punishing herself because she was stealing, which her mother didn't want her to do, and because she'd once said, you're not my mother, she's not my sister, and, you know, her mother died so that they would know they were her daughters, which, I mean, I get where she's coming from. I also think, like, the pirates knew they were there. They weren't gonna buy that she was alone. They would have torn up the floorboards, you know, they would have gone looking for the girls, and it probably would have got even worse. But saying that she said, oh yeah, I have 2 daughters, they live here with me, because she never wanted to deny them, it's a noble sentiment, but it's a stupid reason to get yourself killed. But you can definitely see that a lot of Nami's character was thinking she deserved to be hated or whatever, and just knowing that the ends justified the means. You can definitely see some idealism in naivety in thinking Arlong would ever honor that deal. I feel like it kind of reached the point where she has been doing this thing for so long, she's been living this way for so long, that if she let herself think, Arlong is not going to honour that deal. Arlong hates humans so much. He thinks humans are below him. He wants to murder them all and conquer the world. Like, he's never going to let my one village go. Realistically, he was clearly never going to let them go. He would have accepted the money from her and been like, that brought you a year. See you in a year. You know, like, he was never going to let them live. But once she's in that position, she couldn't afford to realise that it would have been a child's dream that you can make a deal with this evil man and have it be honoured, because she'd sacrificed too much to it. I think the acting, I mean, I thought all of the actors in this show were very good. I don't actually know the name of the actress who plays Nami, but she was very, very, very good in this episode. You could see the difference in her kind of tough demeanour when she was with Arlong, compared to when she was with the village, compared to when she was with Luffy and the crew. There were differences in each state. You could see that, you know, in all of them, you could kind of see that it was a little bit put on. But with Arlong, it felt more like a mask she has been wearing for a very long time and that is very lived in. With the village, it felt like she was resigned to this. There was a lot of, it was like she was doing this thing, but she wasn't enjoying it. She wasn't relishing it. This is what she has to do. And you could see that her sister spitting her out, it hurt her. Seeing Luffy in the crew was almost a little moment of panic. It was a moment of, you have got nothing to do with this situation, and I kept you safe. I removed you from the board. What are you doing here? I don't want to lose you because I do care about you against my will. And trying to like be like, oh, I don't know. Like, when she was speaking to them, there was so much subtle, everything she was saying she meant the opposite of, kind of, it was just so brilliantly well done. And so that final moment at the end where she gets to tell her sister the truth of everything, why she did it, and her sister to realise that she's been hating her little sister all this time wrongly. This girl took on an entire village's fate on her own shoulders at a very young age. It's confirmation. I'm sure at some point Luffy's going to hear the full story and it'll be confirmation of his instincts in people. But right, he knew who Nami was. He could sense that there was more to it than that. But the moment as well when Luffy found her and she was stabbing at the tattoo, and then, you know, she finally said, help me, and he said, of course I will, and then he did a very anime, of course I will. But it works in any other show I'd have been like, that was weird. In this show I'm like, that's Luffy. No, but it was very, he means it. you know, he doesn't even fully know the situation or what he's agreeing to, but that doesn't stop Luffy. You know, it's something I've said that is almost one of his flaws in a way. Like it isn't, because it's part of what a good person he is. If somebody is in trouble and needs help, he will barrel into that situation, but it is also a flaw because he doesn't always stop to fully assess what situation he is running into. He will help Nami, he will forgive her deceit. It will be, I'm assuming the finale is going to be like dealing with Arlong, dealing with the Marines. And by dealing with, I don't necessarily mean dealing with them so we never ever see them ever again, but dealing with them in the sense of like a big culmination of everything that's been building in this season. I'd like to think it's going to end with our little crew, including Nami, on our ship, because the ship's part of the crew, sailing off towards the Grand Line with the map, with enemies no doubt pursuing them, because obviously this is not, as far as I'm aware, the end of everything to do with One Piece. But what's going to be particularly interesting, what I'm looking forward to, is how the rest of them are with Nami. Now, obviously, Sanji barely knows her. Like, she didn't really betray him. He wasn't even on the crew when she did the betrayal. So I feel like, hope he will be okay with her in the sense that he's like, yeah, okay, cool, yeah. He was kind of the one that was the most like, you don't know everything, you don't understand everything, there could be more behind her. I didn't love his whole women are mysterious creatures. A lot of the animes I've watched, and I've only seen like 2 recently, they are very, they have this kind of subtle misogynistic tropes that were very apparent of the time in which they came out. So I'm like, Sanji didn't need to be knowing about women being mysterious. He could have just been like, people are mysterious. It made me dislike his character a little bit. But I think he will ultimately welcome her back. Usopp, again, I think he kind of wavered between the, she's betrayed us, she had a reason. I think he'll welcome her back because he just seems like a genuinely caring person. Zoro, I think, feels, I mean, obviously Zoro and Luffy are the two she betrayed the most because they were the two that had been through the most with her. I think Zoro will potentially have a harder time forgiving her because she kind of went against him and their captain, but I also think the reason that she did it is such a noble reason that I don't think he will hold it against her for long, and I think Luffy has already forgiven her. So I'm very intrigued to see how the dynamic changes and to see a version of Nami without this guilt weighing over her, without thinking I'm lying to you every step of the way, without the burden of her village on her shoulders every step of the way. So I hope we get at least a little bit of that at the end of the next episode, although I'm also very aware that it could literally be the fight ends and that's it. It could even be a cliffhanger. I have no idea. So I'm very relieved to have Nami's story, both in getting a better understanding of her character. I feel like I now really want to go back and rewatch the earlier episodes so that I can feel kind of understand fully what her motivations are. And then I know more about a lot of the other characters as well. Now, the Marines, I don't know that I would have trusted Weird Hair Boy with the knowledge that Luffy is his grandson, but I feel like someone had to know. Weird Hair Boy is not as bad as he seems. Like, he and Kobe have a weird friendship. It's not that weird, but it's weird given where they started, I guess. The kind of a friendship that you think is real, but I still, at this point, I wouldn't fully trust him. I think he's not reached the point where he's acknowledged my father is a shit person. It was really hard growing up with him. It affected me in very negative ways and I need to break free of that. I think he still kind of wants to impress his father. So I'm not entirely sure that he wouldn't throw Kobe and everyone else under the bus in order to impress his father, even if his father has kind of been a little bit disgraced by the order. But yeah, interesting developments there. It has crossed my mind pretty much since the first episode on and off that the pirate king that hid the One Piece could be Luffy's father. And I might be entirely off base on that. But I have been wondering that since the very beginning. I think like they both had black hair. It's about as similar physically as they are. That would throw, and then if that was the case, it would be crazy. It would be like Garp, that's his name, right? Was that did he execute his son or his son-in-law? Either way, pretty messed up. Also, like, I don't know, it could be something else. But yeah, that is the only person I can think of that would be one of Luffy's parents that we have met. Otherwise, I would presume it will be people we will come across in the future. But yeah, this show, I love it so much. I love this crew. And I think I'm just really excited for a future of this crew being together without one of them secretly being betraying them the whole time, without any of that hanging over them, and where they can just form these bonds that we've seen the beginnings of and see them flourish. So I'm loving this show. I'm so glad we have Nami's backstory. As heartbreaking and as purely Nami as I hoped it would be. And yeah, thank you so much for watching.